You might not be aware, but increasing attention is being paid to the intriguing relationship between zodiac signs and criminal behavior, particularly concerning serial killers. A frequently asked question on search engines and social media platforms is, which zodiac sign has the most serial killers? Research reveals that Cancer, Pisces, Sagittarius, and Scorpio collectively account for nearly 40% of serial killers. Moreover, it's been discovered that individuals born under the sign of Capricorn have killed more victims in total compared to any other sign, with over 800 victims, averaging 19 per killer. This data highlights a pattern where certain signs are more prevalent among serial killers, with Capricorns leading in the total number of victims. Let's delve into some of the most well-known cases to see what emerges. Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy was one of the most infamous serial killers in the United States, active mainly in the 1970s. Known for his charm and intelligence, he used these traits to lure his victims. Bundy confessed to the murder of 30 young women and girls, though the actual number may be higher. His method involved kidnapping, violence, and murder, often returning to the crime scenes to perform acts of necrophilia. He was captured in 1978, sentenced to death, and executed in the electric chair in 1989. The zodiac sign of Ted Bundy is Sagittarius. John Wayne Gacy. John Wayne Gacy, also known as the Killer Clown, was an American serial killer who murdered at least 33 boys and young men between 1972 and 1978. Gacy lured his victims to his house with promises of work, money, or through deception, then raped, tortured, and murdered them. Most of the bodies were buried under his house in Chicago. Gacy was arrested in 1978 and executed by lethal injection in 1994. His zodiac sign is Pisces. Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer, dubbed the Milwaukee Monster, was responsible for the deaths of 17 men and boys between 1978 and 1991. His atrocities included sexual violence, murder, dismemberment, and acts of necrophilia and cannibalism. Dahmer lured his victims to his home with promises of money or sex, then killed them. He was captured in 1991, sentenced to 16 consecutive life terms, and murdered in prison in 1994. The zodiac sign of Jeffrey Dahmer is Gemini. Ed Gein. Ed Gein, also known as the Butcher of Plainfield, was an American serial killer and body snatcher. Discovered in 1957, his criminal activities inspired numerous films and books. Gein killed at least 2 women and exhumed the bodies of numerous others, from which he created objects and clothing. His house was filled with human remains. Deemed mentally unfit to stand trial for murder, he spent the rest of his life in a psychiatric institution. The zodiac sign of Ed Gein is Virgo. Aileen Wuornos. Aileen Wuornos was one of the few known female serial killers. She killed 7 men in Florida between 1989 and 1990, claiming to have acted in self-defense while working as a prostitute. Her victims were men she had seduced and then killed. Wuornos was arrested in 1991, sentenced to death, and executed by lethal injection in 2002. The zodiac sign of Aileen Wuornos is Pisces. Gary Ridgway. Gary Ridgway, known as the Green River Killer, confessed to the murder of 48 women, making him one of the most prolific serial killers in American history. His victims, mostly prostitutes and runaways, were killed between 1982 and 1998. Ridgway strangled them and dumped their bodies along the Green River near Seattle. Arrested in 2001, he avoided the death penalty by pleading guilty and providing details on his crimes. The zodiac sign of Gary Ridgway is Aquarius. Dennis Rader. Dennis Rader, nicknamed BTK for Bind, Torture, Kill, terrorized Wichita, Kansas for decades, killing 10 people between 1974 and 1991. Rader sent taunting letters to police and media, detailing his crimes. He was captured in 2005 through digital evidence he sent to the police and sentenced to 10 consecutive life terms. The zodiac sign of Dennis Rader is Pisces. Richard Ramirez. Richard Ramirez, known as the Night Stalker, terrorized Los Angeles in 1985 with a spree of burglaries, sexual assaults, and murders. His crimes were particularly brutal and lacked a clear pattern, targeting victims of all ages and both sexes. Ramirez was a Satanist, leaving occult symbols at crime scenes. Captured that same year, he was sentenced to death but died of cancer in death row in 2013. The zodiac sign of Richard Ramirez is Pisces. Theodore Kaczynski. Theodore Kaczynski, known as the Unabomber, was an American domestic terrorist and mathematical genius who conducted a nearly 20-year bombing campaign, killing 3 people and injuring 23. Motivated by a deep aversion to technological progress and industrialization, Kaczynski sent mail bombs to universities, airlines, and individuals, evading capture until 1996. Sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, he avoided the death penalty by pleading guilty. The zodiac sign of Theodore Kaczynski is Gemini. Otis Toole. Otis Toole was an American serial killer and arsonist active in the early 1980s. His modus operandi involved kidnapping, murder, and arson, often targeting vulnerable individuals or drifters. Known for his erratic behavior and confessions to crimes he may not have committed, Toole died in prison in 1996 from liver failure. His involvement in many cases remains controversial, with some law enforcement officials questioning the veracity of his and Lucas's confessions. The zodiac sign of Otis Toole is Pisces. The distribution of zodiac signs among the mentioned serial killers is as follows: Pisces 50%, Gemini 20%, Sagittarius 10%, Virgo 10%, Aquarius 10%. This means that among the mentioned serial killers, the sign of Pisces represents 50% of the total, highlighting a significant prevalence over the other signs. Capricorn, not even mentioned. This research sheds light on the potential correlation between the character traits attributed to zodiac signs and extremely deviant behavior, such as that of serial killers. While astrology is often regarded as a pseudoscience and lacks solid scientific foundations to demonstrate a direct causation between the position of the stars at birth and personality or human behavior, this type of research can prompt questions about how people interpret zodiac traits in relation to human behaviors. The fact that those born under the sign of Capricorn have killed more victims compared to other signs could be interpreted in various ways, stimulating a deeper analysis of the factors that may influence criminal behavior. This could, for example, spark a debate on how cultural, social, and educational factors, along with personal or psychological ones, intertwine to form an individual's personality and influence their actions. This type of research can also be a starting point for more in-depth studies exploring the dynamics of personality and criminal behavior, although it is important to remember that correlation does not imply causation. The discussion about astrology and human behavior could thus serve more as a prompt for reflections on human nature rather than as an indication of direct and scientifically validated links between zodiac signs and specific behaviors like those of serial killers. We are intrigued. If these topics interest you, we invite you to support our efforts by subscribing and activating notifications for updates.